I think salespeople today, unfortunately, in getting in this business, too many of them have a plan B. If you're going to be successful in this business, you got to go full in, 2 feet in the deep end, jump in and cut the cord. Someone needs to be hungry. They got to have hunger because see, until you're hungry, I can't teach that.
No, you can't.
I can teach everything else, but I can't motivate somebody who is not motivated.
We know all real estate agents want to acquire clients consistently so that they can grow their business and income for that great lifestyle. This broadcast brings you the best and top people in the industry to support that quest. This is Dave Fanale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and Align, your premier real estate solution. And we're back. Good morning, everybody. This is really exciting because every week is exciting for me when I do Real Estate Talk TGIF. Just a little background, which I'll go through. I go through every now and then. The reason I started doing this almost 8 years ago was really simple, is because I saw someone doing a real crappy job and I knew I could show up every Friday. And basically I have. And here we are. We've got Jeff Quentin. And Jeff, you know, some people build a real estate career. Some people build a team. Then there are a few who build something so disciplined, so repeatable, so dangerous in any market that you stop calling it production, start calling it a machine. That's you, man. From what I've seen and how we've talked and our interactions, you know, you're one of those people. And somehow you still look like you're just getting warmed up. You're just getting ready to rock and roll. Everybody welcome Jeff Quentin. Hey, man, how are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm really excited about our conversation. Before we get started, there is one thing I do have to ask you, and I ask everybody this over 400 weeks in a row. What does TGIF stand for?
It's always, thank God it's Friday, but I'm sure you've got something else there that it stands for.
Yeah, it's really pretty simple. And about 10% of the people do get the answer correctly. Unfortunately, you did not. It is, thank God, it's Fanale.
That's it. I love it. There you go, baby.
There you go, man. And of course, my phone has to ring. Why not, right? Because technology is technology. I got a question about technology in a little while too. But man, look, you know what? You started out working in a bank, right? You have quite a journey where you just made a decision. Tell me about what that's all about. Tell me more about that and your process for where you are today.
Sure. No, I appreciate it. So, you know, this is going back to say 1990. I was in high school and I graduated in 1990. So, you know, we're talking about over 30 some years ago. But I had an opportunity in high school to get a job at a bank and working there and in the upstairs department. And there's a financial department, the finances and so forth, like the loan department. And I was just basically filing papers and understanding a little bit about how loans worked, so forth. And that was from 3 to 6. So I'd run home from school in my, you know, school clothes and have to go home and put a collared shirt on and a tie on and look more professional, go to the bank, right? And I'm in high school, you know, I'm 16, 17 years old doing this. And yet what I understand is I started learning a little bit about real estate and just about the loans and mortgages, things like that. And then ultimately, you know, I didn't have any desire to go to college per se, right? My parents weren't putting the pressure on me. If I wanted to go, I could go, but ultimately I just wanted to get in business for myself. I was always an entrepreneurial, spirited type of kid from selling, candy bars for certain baseball or whatever it was, door to door, or whatever that was, you know. And I even had a little car detailing business in high school, so detail cars. So I was always like into wanting to have business for myself, and that's kind of the way I grew up because my parents also didn't go to college and they were in business for themselves. So long story short, I graduated high school and opportunity came up for me to go full time at the bank in the loan department, which I did. But I was cooped up upstairs in a cubicle type of environment, each day. And I kind of wanted to be in front of people. So while I was there, a drive-through teller position came up, which was actually a little less pay, but I actually still got paid what I got paid upstairs. They didn't downgrade me, but the position itself. But I was like, I want that job. Went to the drive-through, and back then, as you guys, the audience may know, back then, we didn't have online banking, right? So everybody would cash their paychecks and go to the drive-through, typically on a Friday, and so there'd be a long line out. There's 2-lane, drive-through, and I ran that. But through the process, I got to meet several real estate agents, several real estate brokers and owners, and guess what I was doing? I was cashing their checks and depositing their checks. I would look at mine, for the whole entire 2 weeks, whatever. It's like $300. I'd look at their check at like $3,000, right? Which is a lot of money back then. And I'm like, there's this young dude coming through. He's 25, 26 years old. He's driving a Porsche. He's got a surfboard on top of his car, and he just cashed a $10,000 check. And I'm like, that's a business I want to know about. So I went to real estate school, did it at night as much as I could. It took me about 2 years because I failed 4 times, and jumped in at age 19, and here we are.
So I have to just emphasize, a lot of people talk about, oh man, I don't know if I'll ever do this. I failed the test. I shouldn't do this. You know what? There's a lot of people that fail the real estate test that become, just great realtors, great business people in the real estate industry. Maybe that's why I'm not as great as everybody else, because I passed it in like 45 minutes, so I don't know. I mean, it's just crazy. I actually sat in the room a long time, like another half hour, because I finished it so quickly. But you know what? It is what it is. But here we are. We got you, man. So let's get right into this, right? So you started in the bank, and then you started building your business. So what was the key, and how long did it take for you to really realize what were these keys? The key to getting you to a point where, yeah, you're a producer, but before that, where did you go from there?
Well, one thing I started out, Dave, is realizing that, hey, at 19 years old in the business, I didn't have a big center of influence, right? I didn't know anybody.
Right.
The only people that I knew were the kids in high school I went to high school with that all went to college. But
right.
I did know many of the parents, from being introduced and hanging out with my friends and just over the years. So I'm like, okay, well, I've got to learn right now in the beginning. I've got 2 ways to get business. One is you have to wait for it to come to me, which
right.
no one's coming to me. Or 2, I got to figure a way to go get it. And so, I heard about center of influence and people. So one of the very first things I did is I just started getting on the phones and prospecting and calling everyone I know. Now, what I did was I took my handy yearbook, my senior year yearbook, looked at my yearbook and said, all right, who are all the kids I know? Whose parents do I know? And went into the yellow pages and built my database from a center of influence in my freaking high school yearbook. And so I started calling the parents. Hey, it's Jeff. I'm in the real estate business now. I went to high school with, Bobby, Sue, your daughter and son. Remember me? Yeah. And curious, who do you know that wants to buy or sell real estate at this time? That was my script, went through it. First deal I got was from a girl I went to high school with. Her dad owned an investment property, listed the investment property and double-ended it, and probably did that within the first 90 days in the business. And so that was my first deal. I double-ended $125,000 duplex at the time.
Okay. So one of the biggest fears or trepidations or whatever word you want to use is, I'm going to call A, my friend's parents, B, people who I didn't like in high school's parents, and anybody else's parents that I knew, because, your friends are 18, 19, 20, whatever they are. They're not buying houses. They're not even going to rent anything yet.
Right.
What was your inner feeling? Because look, I always try to get through fear. For a lot of agents, they just don't want to make the calls, or they go to pick up the calls and the phone is difficult, right? And that phone, what this thing is it can be like 700 pounds, right? How were you able to get through that? Or was it just shit, this is what I got to do?
Part of it was shit. This is what I got to do, because I had no other options. I didn't have a plan B, right? There was nothing out there. I mean, this is like, hey man, I've got to go out and survive. So if I knew that business wasn't going to come to me, then I had to figure out a way to go get it. And, back then there was no emails, there was no text messaging, there was no social media, there was none of this stuff where you could promote yourself in other marketing methods other than really the telephone and be able to have a 2-way conversation. So, for me, it was, hey, let me just tell everybody what's going on. And I joined into a brokerage that helped me understand this. And not only was the center of influence, I then started to move into expired listings. And so the manager in my office said, hey, what was trained for me in the beginning was a listing agent, be listing focused, be seller focused, and be there. So I was like, I like this. And so what happened was that, I was very young looking at age 19, like 19-year-old kids are, right? And I had a baby face. And so I would get good enough, like on the phone, to set appointments, but I would show up to these appointments, knock on the door, and the homeowner would look at me and go, kind of like look behind me, like, where's your dad? Where's your broker? Like, what's going on here, young man? Right.
Yeah.
And, well, yeah, this is me. I'm here. And so my my baby face and inexperience, I could get to the door, but then I was getting shut down. Like, you know what, you don't have it. You're not, experienced enough, whatever. So after getting slammed on the door a few times, I said, I'm good at getting the appointment, but I'm not good when I get there. So I said, you know what, I've got to get really, really good over the phone so that 90% of my preparation was already there. And I would just show up with 10% execution. So I'd sell them over the phone so good that when I showed up, they're like already sold. And then I could just get a contract signed. So I got really good at over the phone prospecting and presenting, having that conversation, digging deeper, handling the objections over the phone. So I became a really good communicator in that way and a prospector at a very young age.
So not where I wanted to go so early in our conversation, but I'm going to go there too, is you sold over the phone. Mm-hmm. There's a great book that I'm in the process of reading it for the second time, called The Full Fee Agent.
For sure.
Steve Scholl and Chris Voss, right?
Great book. Amazing.
Great book. And that's one of the things they say is I never did a listing presentation. The only time I met the seller was when I went to have him sign the listing. Now, basically, you're saying kind of the same thing. So when you say you sold over the phone, tell me more about that. Tell me, what did you sell? Did you try to convince? What was the language that you used, and what was the tone?
Yeah, I mean, so like, with regards to expired listings back in the day, I mean, they only became available once a month, right? And it was in the big, thick MLS book, and you only got exposed to those expireds because it wasn't online in the MLS book. So we'd have to run down to the board of realtors at the end of the month, grab the MLS book, and in the book at the back of it was all the expired listings. So then there was manual lookup. So that's kind of where my focus went. And so I had a script back in the day. It was given to me by my manager. It was a Sweat Hogs
Floyd
Wickman script, right? Here's the script. Read the script. Call these people. Say this. I was very coachable. Like, do this. This is what you do. I didn't question it, right? So I think part of this thing is new agents today is sometimes they get in their way too much, and if they just understand there's a process, be as coachable as possible. Follow it, and it works. So got the script. So I used to call upon expireds, and then, over the phone, it was just like, following, asking the good quality questions. And you know what, in the beginning, I wasn't so skillful by any means, but I can tell you what I was persistent. I was freaking a bulldog. I outworked every freaking agent in my marketplace. I would call and overcall and follow up. And, it's at the point where I earned the right for those listings just because of my follow-up. I really didn't have the skills yet, but the sellers would say to me, why I'm having you over right now is because you're relentless. You simply just did not give up. And I want an agent like you to work for me. And I'd already been on the market for 6 months, with a previous agent, and I never heard from them. But man, I'm hearing from you every single day, every single week, whatever it may be. And you seem like you're a go-getter. Let's give you a shot, So I remember in my second month of the business, I took 14 listings in a month. Now, were they priced right? No, not at all. I mean, they were, but I went and got 14 of them, like in the second month of in my career. 14. I still have the paper, right? Like the spreadsheet or whatever it was at the time. But I just went out and just went crazy.
So one thing you said that is something that a lot of us miss. And it doesn't sound like a detailed question, but I wanted to be as detailed as possible. And I'm going to tell a quick story. Yesterday, I was on a call with, I'm doing something different in the real estate business that is new to me. And, I had a bunch of questions about different things. And the answer to the question from the coach or mentor, whoever you want to call him, the leader there, he basically said to me, the question back to me, instead of answering the question, was, how's your follow-up game? Right. And, I've got, Follow Boss to do it, or I've got Bold Trail to do it, or Lofty, or whatever it is you're using, It's going to do it. Talk to me about your follow-up game, because that's what follow-up game equals persistence. Follow-up equaled persistence. So was it daily? What was the cadence, and what did you say, and how did it work? And will the same process work in 2026?
Yeah, it's a great question, great point. It will absolutely work. Listen, the follow-up game itself, being a skilled-based agent, is never going out of style, period. AI is not going to take it over, right? Like, none of this technology. You can have as much follow-up boss whatever CRM, whatever that may be. But, look, two-way good conversation, providing value, asking the right questions, deeper questions in that, and then being able to be, come from a place of contribution, provide value every single time. That's what people want. That's what they need. And so, back then it was just, if there was a conversation, if they were thinking of selling and getting it back on the market, an expired listing, or interviewing another agent, or even if they said, I've decided to take it off the market, right? That doesn't mean they're never going to sell, right? So that decided to take it off the market, I'd ask another question, like, so tell me, how much time are you going to take off the market before getting back on? Well, I might wait 6 months, right? Or another year. Perfect. Well, that doesn't mean they're never getting on the market. But that person that indicated they still want to do something at some point, I would still call them, right? Very often, a monthly cadence could be every, if it was 6 months, I'd cut it in half, call them in 3, right? But I would always provide value and still do that today. We over communicate. If a home came on the market in their neighborhood or sold like theirs, I would call them. Hey, I know you're, ultimately we talked, 6 months ago or 3 months ago, whatever. Just want to give you a heads up. XYZ Main Street just sold around the corner. Here's what's going on. So it's having a system in place. It doesn't have to be crazy. I mean, the system that I used to use, and some of my agents, my team still use today, which everybody can understand this. This is a CRM. It's an accordion file.
Yes.
All right. The accordion file. And there was 2 of them. There's one that has the months, January through December.
Right.
And then 1 through 31. So if somebody said to me, hey, I call me in 3 months, I'd put it in half of that. I'd call them in 1 month, but I'd put their file piece of paper in the next, in May, right? If it's April, in May. And maybe I'll put it on today, the 3rd of May. And then when May comes, I'd look at all the things in May, and January or May 3rd comes, I would just go to the 3 and the day, pull it out. Here's all my May 3rd calls, right? And so it was very, very simple, right? Same thing. And so, but it was that was my system back then. And that still applies today.
So I got to ask you this question, though. I mean, when you said the folder said, I said, yes, right? Because this is exactly what I would teach people in my brokerage years ago. It says you need a great follow-up system. You need to know when you're going to call somebody. And when we're talking about expires or talking about anything, this is so you cannot forget, right? So would you feel that if an agent used that system, it's a lot simpler than technology? It's a lot easier?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Very much. Very much. We get too much locked into these systems, I think, a little bit too much sometimes. And it's a lot of friction involved. There's a lot of inputting and key punching in and setting people up and doing all that. I mean, look, we all have CRMs, and I love my CRM in a way it communicates and automations and things like that run in the background while we're doing what we do. Right. Certainly needed. But just saying, this is just one little basic tool that you can still use today that absolutely works.
It absolutely does. And it's one thing that we used to teach. And which brings me to, I make a lot of notes before I do these broadcasts, and you've hit several of the things I've already talked about, but I want to get into one in particular, which is, to me, it's not only a shiny object, a silver bullet, a white flag, a red flag. There's a lot of things where in our business today that are produced, that come out, that are sold, and they're basically, they're shortcuts. And there's a lot of agents today that either are being successful and want to go to the next level. They get obsessed with shortcuts. One of the biggest shortcuts that we have today, which if used properly is really great, and it's a great thing, is AI, right? Artificial intelligence. We just talked for 5 minutes about old school follow-up, the old school cadence, what to do, how to do it, right? Where does AI come into that for you, and how you do this with your process and your coaching, jeffquentin.com?
Yeah, I mean, so look, AI is not going anywhere, and I think AI is an amazing tool. What's going on there? I mean, one of the biggest challenges I think we all have today is getting in touch with people, right? So back in the day, you could call the home line, the phone, and the cell phone if you had, or whatever it was, and you had people would answer. People don't answer the phones anymore, right? They just don't, and they've got you blocked. They've got you coming up as spam. They've got all this. So before to make 30 contacts a day, let's say, for a two-way conversation with a prospect or prospecting, was more simple. Today, it's hard. It's hard to get that many in, right? People just aren't answering. So, with regards to AI is concerned, if AI can actually dial through these prospects for you. I mean, shit, AI can, dial 1,000 people at a time within a minute, right? It can get the hand raisers quicker and faster and deliver these people to you that may have interest. AI is getting so much better as far as the scripting is concerned. If you have somebody calling for you, is it glitchy these days still? Absolutely.
Right.
But is it going to help and accelerate and make prospecting or lead generation itself through text, emails, and calls more efficient? Absolutely. I mean, it plays a big role, and it's not going anywhere. I think it's very helpful, but it's still going through its stages. It needs help a little bit, in my opinion.
So I used shortcuts and shiny objects and stuff, and I talked quickly about agents that get to a certain point and they want to start scaling. A lot of agents, they start seeing the big numbers and they get very confident. Some get cocky, some get pompous, as we've seen. What part of building your business actually came from fear, pressure, survival? Were you aware that you might come off as cocky? I mean, give me some stuff in that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that, look, you've got to, I think salespeople have to have a little bit of confidence in them, right? In themselves. Yes. And maybe not so much cocky, but they've got to feel confident enough that, hey, you know what, I know what I'm doing, right? And an authority position of some sort, in all of this. Now for me, the way I grew up, I didn't have a plan B, as I mentioned earlier, right? So,
Right.
I had to succeed. Otherwise I didn't have, any other options. I think salespeople today, unfortunately, in getting in this business, too many of them have a plan B, right? Too many of them have an option. This doesn't work, I can go do this. There is none of that right now. If you're going to be successful in this business, you got to go full in, 2 feet in the deep end, jump in and cut the cord, right? Just, you got to go do it. And that's what I'm noticing right now. So, for me, I didn't have that ability or option to fall back to my mom, my dad at the time. It's still today, you know what I mean? Like I'm it's all about me. I've got to make this happen. But at the same time, I had to learn the business. I had to learn what to say and how to say it, learn the basics, learn the skills of the game. And that's where I spend my time still this day doing.
A lot of us say in our lives that as time goes on, well, I would like to do that again, knowing what I know now, right? I say that about college, and that was, that was a long time ago. That was before. It was not before the Beatles. It was after the Beatles, but right. So, but here's the question along with that, man. I mean, if I could go back to college knowing what I know now, I don't know what would happen. It'd be even scarier, I think, right?
Sure.
But are there things that you wish you knew back then? Or are there mistakes that you made? Or are there things you believe now about success that you didn't completely believe, when you got started, or 10 years ago for that matter?
Yeah, I think that, look, I think, when you're looking at this business, I think originally I started out as a solo agent and I was a real estate agent. And then, eventually I became a more, thinking it was my career. And then I came, okay, you know what? Not only is this a career, it's now really a business. And so when you start out, you're not a business owner, right? You don't know about business, but
right.
You become a little more mature, start making more business decisions. So one of those business decisions I would have done earlier is created more leverage in my world with administrative staffing to help support my business. Because, look, at one time, I was doing, I think as a solo agent, did about 83 units, I think 1 year. And then I got my first assistant, went over to about 123 units with one assistant, just me and one assistant. That was it, right? I was doing everything. And this is, a long time ago. But building the business out itself with with leverage of hiring the right people around me, I probably could have went ahead and done a lot more faster, at that time. But it wasn't something that I just knew, or I had to learn more about that. And, what happened was, I got myself involved in coaching programs, at an early age in 2000 with Mike Ferry. And that really opened my mind up, because I remember going to my first event was in Irvine, California, sitting in a room of about 2,000 agents, and the average agent in the room was doing 75 transactions. And I looked to my left and, to my right, like everyone in here is doing what I'm doing or more, but there's agents that were doing 200-300 units at the time. And I didn't know anything about that. I was a top dog in my marketplace, right? I was big shit. You know what I mean? thinking I was great. I step in there and I'm just average, right?
Yep.
So, what I would have learned to do more of today, and I still do today, back then, is get myself out of my area and go get some damn exposure to people doing more than you, which I had to get on a plane from small Ocean City, New Jersey, and go to Philadelphia and fly to California. I'd never been there, right? I was maybe 25, 28 years old for maybe at that time,
Right.
But it opened my eyes up. So I think that being around like-minded people, joining in masterminds, joining in coaching programs, will give you that extra exposure to show you can do way more than what you're capable of doing once you learn what the other people are doing.
So being in the right rooms, getting to events. I used to do lots of events. I used to do a hell of a lot of events. And now you hear people talking about, well, you got to be in the right room. You got to be in the right room. How important, you mentioned it was important for you, but did it make you want to go to more events, and were they helpful? And tell me a little bit about that, because a lot of people talk about going to events, and I wouldn't even get into the one that they have once a year in December in Atlantic City, but because that's really not an event. And everybody laughs about that. And that's so true. Anyway, what is it important to be in the right room?
Oh my gosh, it's so important. That I've built the relationships across the country from being in those right rooms, and I've learned so much from the people in those rooms. And the events themselves are awesome, and the speakers and the content that's being put out there, because you learn that. But the real ticket is the side conversations at lunch.
Yeah,
it's the dinners at night. It's sitting down with somebody saying, hey man, you're here and I'm here. How did you get there? And what did you do? What systems did you put in place? Tell me the mistakes. What do I need to do next? And then, they're not your competition locally in your market. This could be somebody in Las Vegas, somebody in California, somebody in Florida. They're going to open the playbook up to you and say, hey man, this is how I do it. And this is how I learned to do it. This is what you need to do. And then you're like, oh, okay. And then ultimately you get, you're able to rip off what other people are doing, R&D, right? Rip and duplicate. And that's what success is, man. It's not like you're inventing the new thing. Someone else has done it. Just go steal their playbook and go do what they did.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things is look, I owned and operated what I call a legacy brokerage or old style brokerage or whatever it is for 21 years. And my eyes were opened up in the new virtual world. I mean, we're both with EXP. And one of the things I see is a difference from those brokerages, or even from then to today, is that people are more apt to share with you today, especially in our community that we're in. Fast Forward Moon, whatever it is. I mean, literally will tell you everything down to which T to cross and which dot to I to dot on how to use something that they're using. Let's face it, there's no secrets in this business. There's just someone that thinks they thought to do something a different way, and I'm not going to share that. That's bullshit, because they're going to figure out anyway. Yeah. Where did you realize that early on? Because you were in a room that people were sharing things, right? So. Yeah. So is there someone that you remember that actually shared something with you that was the biggest aha for you in one of those events?
From when I started until I went to my very first type of event like this was about 8 years. So it was 8 years of just kind of solo running my own, not having exposed to any of that. And then I go to the event, and it just blew my mind away. I was like, oh my God. Like, I had no idea there was a bigger world out there. I just didn't know. It was like, holy crap. So there wasn't one, I don't think anybody, like one specific person. It was just the event overall, seeing several people that I could relate to that were doing really, really, really big things. And then just, I would just, ask them if I could grab a cup of coffee with them, meet them in the morning, what they were, just study them, like what they were doing. And they were, very, very much willing to share. And then from there, I just built amazing relationships, and then we held each other accountable.
Exactly.
Back in those days about what are you going to do? When are you going to do it by? And send me your notes, and I'll send you mine, and let's implement these things together. So you start to form almost like a relationship with somebody that's willing to hold you, and you have an aligned goal to help each other grow. And I still do that today. Still
So
today.
yeah, that's really important. I remember those early mornings, 6 a.m. coffees before anything started at these events with people that I knew that could change my business and change my life, whether they were coaches or vendors or other agents or other brokers. We would do it because we knew how important it was. You mentioned something else about systems and leverage, and a lot of people, one of the things that coaches will say and trainers will say, that I could actually parachute into a new area that I don't know anybody and automatically start growing a business. One of the things that I look at when I talk about that and think about that is there's two things that are really important for that. One is systems, and one is, as you would say, standards. Talk to me about how you would do that. And of those two words, what's most important to you?
Well, I think both of them are very important. I mean, when I hear the word standards, that's an important world in my world, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
and not just the word like standards, it just becomes who you become, who you are, right, and who you transform into being. It's like in our team, one of our standards is we lead generate every single day. That's just what we do. It's not a minimum standard. It's not even a standard. It is just what we do, right? Because we know that right now without lead generation, the business will fall, right? And it just won't continue. It's like having gasoline in your car. If you fill the car up and you drive it from here 500 miles, at some point it's going to stop unless you put more gas in it, right? And so, that's something that I learned a long time ago. So one of the, key things that I teach and everything is just understanding how to create discipline in your life, strategy each day, and systems that will make you want to lead generate and prospect every day. So that's a standard. So creating standards like that is huge. You know, it's just, I think that consistency is the key in everything. And I see too many agents right now, they're just inconsistent. And that's why their businesses just go up and down. It's like a full on roller coaster. They don't have, they don't have cash flow. They've got cash spurts,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And because of lack of consistency. So the standard of being consistent in the business is super important.
I think we've seen that. I mean, both of us been in business quite some time, and we've seen this a lot, right? And and with a new agent, it's they get their first deal, their first listing, and that's all they concentrate on. They don't do anything else for weeks, and then all of a sudden it closed, and they ain't got shit to do now,
Yep.
right? I think the thing with consistency and discipline and standards and systems is you want to see your business do this, as it rises, have the wave rise, right? And I think the best way to do that is having the right discipline, right? Discipline's a really important word for me. And I've been challenged several times with several guests over the last few months that the word really isn't discipline. It should be clarity. Do you
I don't
see a
know.
difference? Yeah, Via Williams, as a matter of fact, said, I don't think it's really discipline. I think it's clarity. Knowing what you want, knowing where you want to go is what you need to get there. What do you think about that, Jeff?
I mean, look, and V is awesome. I mean, so I think clarity. I think both of them have its own different definition, right? Clarity is understanding where you're going, see something clear, understanding what it is, and when you have clarity, I think that creates your motivation. But at the same time, discipline. What people don't understand what this. Okay, so I think people get in this real estate business for one reason, right? They want freedom. You always hear that. I want to get in real estate business. I can go and be free. I can do what I want when I want and all that shit, right? But the exact reason why they want to get into business is the exact reason why everyone, 87% fail within 4 years, right?
Yep.
Because they want freedom, but
Yep.
no one's willing. See, what I say is discipline equals freedom. When you become disciplined and you do the things you're supposed to do, then you can have all the freedom in the world,
Right.
right?
Right.
Whether you have clarity or not. Because, I think all of us have challenges from time to time with clarity, knowing where you're going, what is, because you can get so fogged up in your mind. You have to come back each year and, do a business plan and get a little more clear on what's my goals, what do I want to do, place I want to go, things I want to have, things I want to do in my world, and maybe list them out to keep you motivated and clarity on what's important to you and what your priorities are. That's when you start to build clarity, right? But without the discipline that go and the systems around for that, it's tough. You've got to have freaking discipline, man. And that's everything. It's almost like saying, hey, man, I want to lose 25 pounds and I want to get in shape. You know how much discipline it takes to do that?
I do.
I mean, right? Like the nutrition side, waking up early, you're drinking enough water, going to the gym, doing a specific workout. That creates freaking discipline. Even though I got clarity, I might have clarity because there's books to read and I can go to a nutritionist and a trainer and say, give me the plan. I'm clear, but without, I'm clear to know what I got to do.
So that brings up another question that always hits me. And I've asked this question several times over the past year. You have people that are gym rats. They go to the gym. They're when I used to belong to one gym, everybody would call, we're all 5 o'clockers, right? Gym opens at 5. I could never understand why, but people get there 4:45 and it's raining, it's snowing, and they're standing in the rain. Can't you just sit in your car till the door opens? Anyway, I digress. But the thing is, we're 5 o'clockers, right? We get in there, we do our shit, we get out. And a lot of those people do not transfer that discipline of going to the gym, building their bodies, taking care of their bodies to their business. So they've got this discipline where they want to lose 25 pounds. So they're losing weight. They're starting to look a little bit better. They're getting like excited about, after they take the shower, that the love handles are going away. But they don't transfer it into the business. Why do you think that is? And what do you think would be the switch for them to do that?
Well, it's a great point. You see it happens in all different ways, right? Where somebody's so strong in one area and yet in their business world is so weak in another. And that could be in just different things other than physical or the gym, right? I think that they don't have, in this case, I think that somebody that is so disciplined in their physical wanting to do that, they're motivated in a way that wants them to do that. They're lacking to understand in the business side and understanding how do I transfer the results of the business that's meaningful enough as them getting physically, looking the way they want, right? There's definitely a difference between what they actually want. And I think they're unclear as far as the motivation to understand the results they could get out of the business. If they treated the same thing as their morning routine to get to the gym, if they did the same type of structure in their business, they could get very similar results. There's a formula for all of it, right?
Yeah.
There's a formula for it all. I mean, if that person was getting up at 4:30 and being disciplined, and they got to the gym at 5 and they worked out and they started really transform their bodies and they look amazing physically, but yet they're broke because they haven't sold any real estate for 2 years. That happens all the time, right?
All the time. So
and then you see the opposite. We see it all the time. Amazing real estate salespeople crushing it. But then physically they look like shit all the time. Well, dude, you have an amazing business. When are you going to get your shit together and look better? And they don't want it. They don't want it. And that's the challenge. Like, do they really, there's an internal want, need, have to of some sort that's lacking, I believe.
Jeff, is there a standard that you have in your business and in your coaching programs that you will not stray from, that people learn very quickly about when they're working with Jeff Quentin?
Well, I think that, look, one of the things that the qualities or values, if you will, is someone needs to be hungry. They got to have hunger, because see, until you're hungry, I can't teach that.
No, you can't.
I can teach everything else. I mean, we can teach all the scripts, the skills, the system, but I can't motivate somebody who is not motivated. Right.
Right.
It's really hard to do. I can teach motivation. I can give you, short-term ideas to be motivated, but not over periods of time, unless you have a burning freaking desire to go do something and have some hunger inside of you to go want it.
Right. Right. So, all right. So you're the CEO and founder of the Quentin Group, but you also got something that you got rocking and rolling here called jeffquentin.com coaching, where you're working with agents now. Tell me about where that evolved from and what it's all about and how you help agents there.
Yeah, I mean, basically, that's everything that I've learned from, say, 30 years in the business and selling over 5,000 homes. Just kind of broke it down kind of in a simple step-by-step, system that actually works, right? So it's everything from, how should a top producing agent think in the mindset, how to generate lead generation and lead opportunities, how to convert at a higher level, how to build a system so that, we're not starting from zero every month. So, I mean, it's understanding the foundation of how to be consistent, like we talked about.
Yep.
It's just understanding what it takes to be a top producing agent through the mindset, how to prospect, what to say, how to say it, the conversion side of the business, the closing side of the business, how you can scale, building a business. And it's everything from the brand new agent to a veteran agent that's been out there a long time.
All right, Jeff. So sell me on jeffquentin.com. And I don't mean sell me. I'm just talk to me about, so there's a lot of people out there. And when I sold my business 8 years ago, I started into coaching. That's where RE Skill Builder came from. I was pretty successful for a while, and I evolved into other things. Tell me why jeffquentin.com. Tell me why I would work with Jeff Quentin now.
Well, it removes all the guesswork, right? So it gives you a simple plan and understanding of a sales system to take your business from day one to build it as big as you want to build it. So everything through. Okay. So, the system actually teaches consistency, removes all the guesswork. It helps you build confidence. It tells you exactly like the correlation between here's your effort and the results. And it just gives you a step-by-step basic, this is what's necessary to do in all of this business.
Right.
From day one, if you're brand new, if you're an agent that's say, in the business for 2 to 3 years and you're kind of stuck, you're doing 5, 10 transactions, which is a good agent, where you're like, man, how do I double or triple my production? This plan will give you, and the system will give you a step-by-step, strategy, what you need to do next to get there.
Yeah. So I know I put this text on a screen too early. I apologize for that. But what I want to talk about this, right? What's really important for people to understand, and that's why we go through the process in our conversation today about how you started and what you did. And basically, old school is new school today, which is, the prospecting, the lead generation. On your team, everyone lead generates, and that's every day. So you set them up, you set them up for success rather than setting them up for failure. In your team, if it was a brokerage, it'd be the same thing. But most brokerages, most teams, prospect if you like, right? For you, it's a requirement. How does that go over, or does that just make it easier for you to work with the people when they know what is expected of them, standard, so to speak?
Yeah, no. I mean, if you come to work at our elite team, our hub team, where everyone shows up each day, it's a real business, right? So they show up, we role play. We prospect 3 hours a day on the phone, standing up. If you came into my office and anybody here was to shadow us, which you're more than welcome to do, your stand-up desk, 2 headsets, right? With 2 phones, right phone, left phone, double dual headsets like this. All right, we've got, scripts on the walls, objection handlers in front of us. We're equipped right now. You come into our environment, there's music going on in the background. There's no incoming phone lines interrupting anybody. It's like a call center, more or less, if you think of it that way, a boiler room, right? It's that environment. You got your dream board sitting here in front of you that's motivating you about what you want, pictures cut out of cars, planes, all the stuff that's on there. It's set up. So when you step in, there's only one thing you need to do, and that's generate business, right? So we have that environment set up, which is super important. Now, people come in the office and they say, oh, man, I can't do this, right? I always say, look, can you stand up for 8 hours? Yes. Okay. Can you speak, right? Language? Yes. And you're hungry. You really want to make money. Do you have a need for it? Yes. We talk about that. Good. I'll teach you everything else. Right. And then, so, we have agents that, join our team, and this is going on for years, agents that are brand new licensees that'll come out and sell 18, 24 homes in their first year, make 110, 140 grand, in the first year at 21 years old, right out of college, 22 years old, right out of college. They went to a 4-year college at Penn State, spent all this money. I'm getting into real estate. Great. Come join me. Next thing you know, the first year they're making 150 grand. 22 years old. Happens.
Man, I tell you what, I wish that I had met you and all other people like you when I first got into this business, which was during college, right? A long time ago. It was honestly, it was 50 years ago, right? And what I want to tell you is that your training is a little bit different than what I got. Mine was, come in Thursday mornings, we'll have a sales meeting. And then, if you want, you can sit when the phone rings, answer it. And that's it. That was our training. Yeah. So I was very used to not knowing what the hell to do, right? This is
still today, still the same thing today.
Right.
Unfortunately, most brokerages.
This is a real business. We didn't, it's funny. We didn't have Zillow. We didn't even have magazines back then. We didn't have any of that stuff. The great thing about our office that I was in is that we had a 3-color typewriter. You guys know what a typewriter is. Well, let's not even go there. Hey man, so tell me, okay, so we're really coming up on time, but I want to ask you something. You've got an agent that really wants to do business. They understand the business, they know the business, but they're not really that successful, doing a few deals a year. What would you say to them that they should do now in order to get business now? They need to get business. What do they do?
I think the first thing is they need to have confidence. Someone needs to have confidence. And how do you get confidence? Because most agents today, like they're doing a few deals, they're not confident. They're not like this. They walk into the client, whether it's a buyer or seller, they smell it, they can see it. They're not going to transact with somebody that isn't confident. Now, how do you get confidence? Well, confidence is by understanding what to say, how to say it, and when to say certain things. It's the language of sales. I would teach somebody today to understand that they have to understand the dialogues that's required working with a seller or a buyer. And once they start to learn that dialogue and what to say and how to say it, that builds their confidence. And so spend the time understanding that, right? And that has to do with scripts, understanding what works. That's the first part. So, it's very simple. When someone comes along to our team, right? And I would teach this to anybody. The very first thing you should do right away, number one thing, very simple, day one in the business. Go get 50 Google reviews or Zillow reviews. Build your profiles, okay? 50. You're going to call people that you know, that love you, like you, trust you, your friends, family, everybody, your cousins, uncle, your mom, your dad, doesn't matter. Hi, it's Jeff. I've just joined XYZ brokerage or XYZ team or whatever it may be. I've just got in real estate. It'd mean the world to me to help me with an online review. It helps, anybody who's searching online, for me, I need a 5-star review. Could I count on you to give that to me? Yeah, for sure, Jeff, no problem. Great. Here's my link. I'm sending it to you right now. If you could do that for me, it'd mean the world. Just go build some online right now today. Go get 50 reviews. Because now guess what happens? You may not know shit about real estate, but if you're going on an appointment, guess what the seller or buyer are going to do? They're going to Google you. Yep. They don't know you. They're going to Google you. They're going to see your Zillow reviews. You have 50 of them that says, Dave's the greatest thing in the world. Let's say you never sold a house with them or did a transaction, but Dave is an amazing person. If I ever have a question, I call him. Doesn't mean to call about real estate, right? I've known Dave for 25 years. He's always been a great friend. Doesn't matter. You're just building credibility across online, right? And people are going to go there. I can't tell you that's where you start. So, but yet that would actually start giving you confidence because people that give you a review, someone that gives you a review is basically saying, if I give you a review, I'll give you a referral. You're building advocates for your business. That's day one. Now, what happens in day one? It gives you're not getting objections. No, I'll never give you a review. You're an asshole, right? You're not going to be calling people that are going to say that. Everyone's going to say, yes, I'd be willing to do that for you. So now all of a sudden you learn how to start talking on the phone, the people that you know, you're asking them for something very basic, and then you're building something on the other side. And then you're also building a database of people that will help you.
That's right. I love that. That's great.
That's like day one. Like you just go do that.
I love that 100%. That's fantastic. Now we have, text business plan to 609-246-0374. Talk to me about that. We've had it up on the screen. Tell me about that and what that is.
Yeah. So this is just a giveaway thing that we have. It's a, look, it's a business plan, and it's specifically a two-week business plan that you can use for the entire year or just for 2 weeks. Okay. But here's what I encourage everybody to do. Text this number, right? 609-246-0374. Just put in their business plan. Get that. I'll send you this 2-week plan. It's a fillable business plan. Okay. That's very simple. It asks for, how many days you're going to work this next month, right? How many hours can you put into real estate? How many people can you talk to per day, right? What's your appointment goal that you can go on, buyers or sellers? It's just a breakdown of a plan that will give you the metrics that you need to follow. And then you get clarity behind it so you know what direction it's going. It's a simple plan. It's like saying, hey, you know what? I want to drive from Ocean City here to the city, to New York City, right? And okay, well, wow, I need to plug in, right, what it is and where I'm going, the destination. And then this will just help you understand the turns, right? What streets to take, how long it's going to take. That's all it is. So it's a really simple plan. I want to give this to you that will give you guys clarity. And we got several other giveaway things we can give you as well. But it's a simple 2-week plan. Start there first, right? Build that little plan out. Now you have a direction on where you want to go.
That's fantastic. I love this, man. And as we get near the end, I want to tell you that I will be coming down to your place because I want to see what you do down there because it's really exciting. I love the process that you work on and the room and everything else. I love that. And before we get to the end, I want to do two quick promotions. Is that, guys, if you like what you got going on here I'm sorry, I hit the wrong thing. If you like what we got going, we've got a special event coming up next Wednesday. Excuse me, we have Brent Gove. Brent Gove is the man. He is the shit. He is the man, the myth, an actual legend behind a lot of things here. It's spelled incorrectly here. It's Gove, not Grove. He's going to be up here on Wednesday at 3 p.m. We're going to talk about legacy. We're going to talk about how he's built the big following in his business of selling thousands of homes, but also being able to build the business that he has. And then, of course, next Friday, we'll be back with our regular show. We'll have Chris Stiles, who is the Oz Group sales leader, another Jersey boy. We're just going to keep it in the state for a while and just be so much fun with Brent, with Chris, and just have a lot of fun. We've got other things coming on. Leo Pareja is on the schedule. We've got other things along with the founder of Zoo Delio, Kayla Lau's coming on in a few weeks as well. Enough of that. You know what, man? I have one other question for you and then one other thing. The question is probably the most important question I ask everybody on a weekly basis, and that is, how do I help you grow your business?
Well, thank you. You've already done enough. I mean, just me being here and allowing me to share my story and kind of what I'm up to has been great. I mean, I have a wholesale system and course coming out. We're launching in 2 weeks. Awesome. If anyone's interested to learn more about the sales system exactly, it's an interactive course. They would just go to jeffquentin.com, and we're launching out a pre-launch special at $297. The course itself is it's actually $1497, and we reduce it to $997 once we go live. But it's pre right now, launch at $297. So anybody who wants to grab that course, we're going to be launching it in about 2 weeks. And it's a step-by-step system that's just going to show you, what I built, what all top producer realtors have done. Many of us, including Dave, including Brett, like all of us, it's no secret. This is just a step-by-step system you can follow. You can join my community. We can be, we can interact with each other. But it starts there first. So jeffquentin.com would be great if you guys want to check that out.
Awesome, man. I want to thank you so much for being on. I really love the process and the clarity and the difference that you make in this business. And you know what? Thanks so much for being on. And of course, we end every broadcast the same way. We start it the same way. We end it the same way. There's a hat here for you with our Skill Builder hat coming out to you. I want to thank everybody for being here. We got Brent Gove next Wednesday and Chris Stiles next Friday. Thank you so much, Jeff. Just stay on as we go out.